Good evening, guys. It's KB5 MIQ Big Boy. We're going to talk a little about something today, and I don't want anybody to think I'm changing the path of my channel to a prepper channel. I'm not. I'm still going to talk about ham radio and cheap ways to get into it. But in light of everything that's going on with weather-wise the last couple of weeks and what we're looking at in Florida now, I've always been somebody who stressed planning ahead. Come from my military days and all of that. So I've always been on stress and planning ahead on this stuff. So we're going to talk about a couple of scenarios with y'all today about doing some prepping and doing prepping on a budget. Okay, so we've already talked in previous videos about what ham radio operators should have on hand and things like that for use in a storm, but we haven't really touched on how they're going to get through the storm. So I see we got two separate avenues of prepping. We got evacuee prepping and shelter-in-place prepping, which is what I do. Let's talk about evacuee prepping for a minute. This is strictly my views on it. I don't really have that much experience in it. I've talked to some people that's had to do it. So let's talk about that. You're a ham operator. You're in an area, a hurricane area. You know you may have to evacuate. You've already got your HF rig and a go bag, batteries, expedient antennas ready. You've got a mobile in your car, so you're good. Here's what I think you need to do to get ready to leave out like that. First off, several days prior, decide what vehicle you're going to go in and make sure that vehicle is full of gas. And make sure it's kept full of gas through up until the point you have to evacuate or see that you're not going to have to evacuate. It's got to be topped off all the way. You've got your ham radio gear already stored in the car. If it's a standard automobile car or SUV, I do not recommend carrying an extra can of gas, just from the danger of fumes and if it gets rear-ended and catching fire. Pickup truck, open bed, that's your option. I carry gas cans all the time when I have to, but I don't know that I would in that situation, but start out with a full tank of gas. Have a current, up-to-date, hard copy road atlas with you. I know nobody likes to use maps anymore. We all got these cool apps on our phones and our navs in our car. Get a hard copy road atlas to take with you. I promise you it could save you some trouble down the road. Have 3 days worth of food, non-perishable food items. It could be energy bars, Slim Jims, stuff like that. Plenty of water, enough for everybody that's in the car for up to 3 days. Have a blanket for each person that's in that vehicle. All right. My thinking on the evacuation route, the government's going to tell you the interstate's the preferred evacuation route, and you're going to get in a 100-mile long traffic jam. My thinking, I hadn't had to do it, if I was familiar with the area and I could find me a secondary route that would get me to a safe location, I believe that's the route I would go. For several reasons. One, probably less traffic, be able to find fuel easier on it. Two, you're not going to be caught up in that 100-mile traffic jam. It's going to get worse as all the stations that line the interstate are going to run out of fuel and people are going to start having to stay in their cars on the side of the road. Case in point, down in Bryan College Station, it's I-45 runs through there, and one of the hurricanes in Texas, most people's evacuating through there. All the roadside interstate gas stations out of fuel. This person that told me this story had stopped in a convenience store that was full of cars, some of them out of gas. Convenience store had no gas. One of the guys asked him, "Hey man, where's fuel at?" He said, "Look dude, just drive a half a mile or a mile down the road, get on into town. There's more gas stations. All of y'all are getting fixated on what's on the interstate. If you come to a town, drive into the town for fuel. Might be an easy way to find it." The main thing is have a plan in place when you start out with. And amateur radio in your car will be a great way to stay in contact and know what's going on. But have fuel, food, water took care of, and navigation, preferably a hard copy book. All right. Now we're going to talk about what I do, shelter in place. In 1999, we had a tornado pretty well destroy a town 12 miles from here that knocked the power out to a lot of the surrounding towns for a couple of days. I told my then wife that we needed to start laying some supplies back. Canned food, water, and that's what I was laying back. A lot of people thought I was doing it for Y2K. It wasn't for that, it was for weather events. 2000, we had an ice storm hit. And I found out some of the stuff I had was good. Some of it I didn't have everything I needed. For one, I didn't realize there wasn't a manual can opener in my house. There is one now. Luckily, I found an old P38 in my military junk. Manual can opener, manual bottle opener. Never leave home without them. All right. My ham shack was set up. I did some relay work for the fire department through VHF. I had a battery available. So our ham shacks are going to be set up. We need to make sure our alternate power sources, our batteries are charged up. We need to figure out what kind of alternate power source we're going to try to run our house on. Whether you have a whole house generator or a generator you're just going to run part-time to keep your refrigerators up. Something like that. Need to figure out how you're going to heat your house. I found out how useless a fireplace was in a redneck mansion, i.e. double wide, after 4 days with no heat. I now have gas logs in my fireplace, and I've shut the chimney off, which does a good job of heating the majority of my house when the power's out. That's what that's there for. All right, you're going to have water. I always keep extra water on hand because all me and my wife now drink is coffee, water. We don't drink soft drinks at all. And I drink beer on occasion, but water is what we keep the majority of in the house. So I've always got several cases of water on hand. Food. Something else you're going to have to be able to prepare. Gas grills, fish cookers on the back porch. Don't bring them in the house. Good way to cook food out in there. My tip is eat all your perishables up first, especially if you don't have a good way to keep them cold. Couple of options you may run into. You don't have to break the bank on doing this. The trick is start doing this now. Find you a tote or a cabinet. Buy $15, $20 worth of canned goods when you buy groceries and put it up. Every year, look through them. Stuff that's about to go out of date, give it to the food bank and replace it. You can do a lot of eating. Can of Wolf Brand chili, can of soup. Any of that stuff keeps, and it's easy to prepare. Doesn't take much heat to require it. Hey, Ham Radio Cat. Doesn't take much heat to require it. Here's another option you've got. And I recommend these Mountain House freeze-dried meals. Although they will take a little more of your water supply up to prepare them, they're pretty good, and they got a really long shelf life. They're $8 to $10 a package at Walmart and Academy. Again, don't break the bank. Go in there, buy one or two when you buy groceries, throw them in a tote. I've got a tote full in there right now of them. And these got like 20-year shelf life on them. So they're great to have put up. The key is don't want to wait till the last minute to try to gather stuff up because you'll end up overspending, blowing your budget for the month. I've seen my brother do this years ago. We had a prediction of a Hurricane Rita going to come through here. He overnights from cheaper than dirt 5 cases of MREs. I don't even want to know what that cost him. I don't recommend MREs. A lot of people like them. I don't. I had to eat them for 20 years. So I don't stockpile MREs. Freeze-dried food's good. Canned food's good. Water. So you got to have heat, water, food, power source for your radios. Also, we've already talked about you need to have your expedient antennas available in case the storm destroys your fixed antennas. Guys, I know this is kind of off different from what I normally talk about, but it's important. This is just as important as having your radios prepared because you got to be able to eat, you got to be able to drink. Another thing, by stockpiling potable water, you'll have water to drink water to cook with. Now this may get a little too personal, but the water went off during the ice storm because the water towers run out of water and they didn't have generators on the pumps. You can't flush a toilet without water. But all it takes, 5-gallon bucket, go outside. If you got a swimming pool, dip some water off out of it. Dip some water out of a pool. As long as it's not just full of muck and mud. Take the top off the commode. When you flush it, fill the tank back up. That's all it takes. Be able to flush the commode. Save your potable water for drinking and cooking. Well, guys, I hope these tips help. I don't like to see anybody having problems in an emergency. These ideas are for you to be able to shelter in place or survive on your own long enough for services to start being got back in your area or help to get back in your area. I'm not talking about the end of time and zombie apocalypse and the world falling apart type scenarios. I'm talking 2 weeks, a month, maybe 2 months that you need to prepare for to be a little self-sufficient so you don't have to worry so much when something happens, when services fall out. Medicine. If you can refill all the medicines in your prescription meds you're on before it happens, do that. Keep a first aid kit available, both for evacuees and shelter in place at home. I'm sure there's stuff I've missed. I know what I meant. I done forgot one other thing. Lighting. We talked about this in an earlier video. They're having lots of problems with people setting their house on fire with candles and gas lanterns and stuff. I'm going to show you 2 options, and these are both available on Amazon. They call these little Boston lights. They run on 2D batteries. They work great for power outages. These little pull-up lights like this are great in a power outage. These run on AAA, 3 AAA batteries. The trick to those, don't store them with batteries in them. Take the batteries out, store the batteries with them, and when you see that you're going to need them, put the batteries in them. You got a good, safe way of having light in your house at night to see to get around in. They work great. They have a really long battery life using them because Pam and I have used, especially the Boston lanterns, several times in power outages. Guys, I hope this helps. I appreciate everybody who subscribed to the channel. I want to give a shout out to K1ENT Kent for making me all the new Black Cat thumbnails. I believe those are helping with my views. My last videos had over 1,800 views on it. Guys, I really appreciate it. Gone up 30 subscribers. Appreciate everybody who subscribed to the channel. Y'all remember Main Trading Company in Paris, Texas. I hope to get up there pretty quick and get a tour of the new place. This is KB5 MIQ Big Boy 73.